This conference will now be recorded.
The time being 6 o'clock, I'll call to order the Tuesday, December 30th meeting of the Tilton Planning Board. We do have a couple of members that are just a few minutes out. Otherwise, we do have a quorum.
I will also give the board this. We just got this in.
Ooh, hot off the copier, hot off the email. Oh, all right.
There a copy for everybody?
Yeah, I'll pass it. Should I just read it into the record? All right, it's from Robert Jean. It just says, "Good afternoon, Pat. Due to scheduling changes in my employment, I need to step down from the planning board. I apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused." And it's dated today, December 30th at 2:21 p.m.
Well, that's too bad.
That's too bad. Yeah.
Can we send them a thank you for serving them?
Can we send them a
Had my phrase on.
Oh, do you? Okay, thank you.
You have one of them? Or you have one? Oh,
Makes a big difference.
Does it? Good.
Will be missed.
he was a good addition.
They were very good. He's really into it. Asking the right questions.
All right. So do I want to wait a few minutes for, we have Nate and Christine en route. Oh, Nate, Christine called me like 2 seconds before I brought the meeting to order. She said she was on her way.
You know Dottie Regan?
Ooh,
Yes.
I hear footsteps up the stairs.
She fell, shattered her leg.
Oh,
That's Kevin's mother, right?
oh, jeez.
You have to buy everyone dinner.
Dottie Perkins broke her leg at the senior center. She didn't break it.
There's a letter of resignation that we just received.
I don't know, rain and freezing.
One of them.
It's dangerous.
Let the record show that Nate arrived at 6:04 p.m.
Showed up.
Huh?
You're gonna say showed up?
Yeah. I had to think of where I was before I'm not dealing with a line
funny.
construction crew, not dealing with linemen. Oh, nice of you to show up to work today. You know how that is. You work in construction.
We lost power yesterday.
Oh,
boy.
Guys,
yeah.
they responded almost right, well, not right away, but within a half an hour. And I had the generator going and she responded to those guys, I salute those guys because I'm telling you, it wasn't fun up there. It was not fun. They sent a neighbor email saying to be back up at 2:30 and they were back up at 1:30. So they're way ahead of the curve there.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So the purpose of our meeting this evening is that back on December 9th, we had a planning board case 25-17, which was an application for a change of use review. And in a nutshell, what we did is we put a site plan restriction on it. We treated it almost as a site plan review when it shouldn't have been treated that way. And we put a restriction or a special condition on there about parking. And that should not have been.
Why was that not a site plan review?
It was an application for a
Change of use
for a change of use.
on a property that's never had a site plan review, but a change of use.
It's been in existence, that site's been in existence. Barrett had
a business there for years and years and years since I came to town.
That's right.
Is,
So
is
it's all it
there,
It
needed
used
was
to
a
be a
change of use.
department store.
That's all it needed was a change of use. It didn't need anything else.
Actually, the planning board made a policy years ago that properties like that would go through site plan review.
Oh, I've been on.
But
a million years, I don't
nevertheless,
remember.
what do you do with the change of use then? Why did they bother coming in?
Because it's required for them to come in.
It's required
For
for
us
them.
to do what?
That's
Just say
To
yes?
say yes or no.
Then we,
And
That doesn't
so
make
I think
sense.
this is easy to fix. I'll make a
so
motion.
do we have a official protest from the applicant? Do we have anything in writing from the applicant for us to reconsider a decision?
Well, we made a mistake, Catherine. and it's
No,
not
we
up
didn't
to-
make a
Yes,
mistake.
we did make a mistake, Catherine.
Let me bring you to page 39 of the zoning. Prior to approval of any new use, change of use, or expansion of use in the downtown district, the planning board and or the code enforcement officer may require verification that existing public parking will provide adequate parking accommodations.
That's the old book. What book is that?
Then
There's zoning, so
I know, but I'm
I,
looking at our zone. I opened up to page 39 and I don't see
it's
that.
at the top, 3.5.
it might be different page numbers.
Guess that's what I'm having a feeling. Because I don't have that. That's my page 39.
Also, it
Find
says,
three.
it says in something you read at the last meeting, Catherine, the very first word was except in the downtown. area.
That's to determine how many parking spaces.
That's what you wanted to talk about.
I read that before the meeting. What I read to them,
That during the meeting, Catherine.
okay, well, whatever. Whatever. I stand by the decision. In the site plan review, which I still believe it's a site plan.
Wasn't the site plan, Catherine.
Well, then it's either a
It
site
was
plan
noticed as a change
or
of
a
use, not as a site
subdivision.
plan.
It was,
or if we can't make,
There should have dismissed the case if that's what you're trying to argue.
I'm not trying to argue, I'm trying to understand what that exactly was.
It was a change of use.
And what do you do with the change of use?
you can either approve it or deny
I
it.
deny
Well, then
it.
let's deny it. They don't have parking.
What,
Parking
May-
has nothing to do with change of use, Catherine. Nothing.
Pat?
Excuse me, do you want me to read that again? 3.5, parking regulations adopted 3/12/2013. Prior to approval of any new use, change of use, or expansion of use in the downtown district, the planning board and or the code enforcement officer may require verification that existing public parking will provide adequate parking accommodations.
Key word there is may.
That's right. It's also, I read, it's a safety issue. If anybody has looked at that parking lot out back, that the applicant didn't have any real knowledge of, they weren't aware that the town of Tilton owns 60 feet in from,
You've got all the parking by T-Hop, which is right down the street from them. So I don't think parking in any way is a restriction in them opening that business.
it's a huge restriction. We don't have enough parking as it is.
We do.
How can you say
We
that?
have 74 additional spaces, I believe.
From where?
Well, all over the different places that we have
We,
parking all over, and it includes T-Hop, which until recently was not an established parking area, and it now is.
no, that was always part of our parking.
That's
Look at the
actually-
map on the website of the town of
So,
Tilton. We
that-
lost a huge section of parking out back on Center Street.
Correct. And since that time, the Board of Selectmen, and I'm going to say a couple of years, because I don't remember the exact year, that there was a bunch of spaces like behind, next to the fire station, we'll call it there, that were lost by the town. So at that time, the Board of Selectmen took the, was that Lot G? Lot G, that's
Yeah.
that's commonly referred to as the Tilton House parking lot, but it's town of Tilton, Lot G. It was made to overnight parking.
Yeah.
Also, since that time, the town has acquired and changed into on Mechanic Street into of the lot there, and that is parking. That was brought up at the last meeting.
we discussed that. And I said it at that meeting that what's going to happen there,
Word game, Catherine.
it's gravel. And this is the problem back there. It's gravel. But that's just going to fill up with parking. We can't regulate it unless we asphalt it and paint it. And these are parking spaces. And we haven't done that.
Parking, there are parking.
It's just
spaces.
barely, I don't even know if it's all cleared out yet. But behind the Mexican restaurant, they own that lot. It's not public parking. They own it. There's a dumpster.
It's
There's an
still,
apartment in that building. It's not public parking. The section we have is small.
There's still sufficient public parking to accommodate
Oh,
anything.
there is
that might
not.
go in there.
Well, why don't we follow section 3.5 and make sure there is, rather than be irresponsible and approve 6 more apartment buildings in the downtown area that obviously we don't know if there's enough parking.
Is it,
It's not to be considered for a change of use. And that is in our zoning.
I'll read
is-
it again.
Is this change of use for 6 buildings or 6 units within
Or
a
one
building?
6 apartment buildings,
No,
I mean,
one
units.
building, Catherine.
units. Did I say buildings before?
Yes, you did say
6
buildings.
units.
6 units.
Okay, so
Plus like a restaurant or something.
So the major change in the change of use is from purely, commercial, retail type business to mixed use, which is allowed in downtown, for apartments and retail, but also now food service retail.
Right. What they
Okay.
want to do is allowed.
Okay, the question is just
Parking.
parking.
Yep.
And then per 3.5, which is page 40 of the 2025 zoning
Oh,
regulations.
mine's on 39.
And I have one that's on page 29, so
Isn't that funny? But it's
But yeah, so-
3.5 parking regulations, the last sentence you'll see.
Yes.
And it does say change of use.
Prior to approval of
Yep.
any new use,
Yep.
change of use, or expansion of use in downtown district, the planning board and/or the code enforcement officer may require verification that existing public parking will provide adequate parking accommodations.
May I speak?
Yes.
go ahead, Pat.
We have the April 18th, 2024, the Board of Selectmen declared the T-Hop parking, the municipal parking for overnight parking. That has 25 plus spaces. And just below that, as I hand out this very graphic, I shouldn't say graphic, but drawn, you can see that they abut that property along with the shared parking with the 3 buildings that share the parking behind it, which are businesses with 1 apartment building, which has 1 apartment upstairs. I checked with the chief of police, asked about how many stickered overnight parking were issued in 2025, and it was 74. We went over the municipal parking stickered areas that we have, and we have 80 plus stickered overnight parking areas in the downtown right now.
So with that math,
Correct.
for overnight parking for apartments in the downtown area, we have a 6-space surplus, which, and I guess the theory is if people are,
It's always been on a first come,
parking,
first served,
parking
right?
at night, they're not going to be there during the day because they're ideally going to be commuting to work. And so it should be hopefully opposite the day use of that parking for,
And
businesses.
anybody who's driven by that parking lot during the day, it's full.
Yeah.
So where do these people park during the day if they don't work? We're assuming that everybody that's going to live there is going to work.
I guess we're also,
And they're going to work during the daytime
They could work second or third shift somewhere,
Yeah.
or not work at all.
or they could not work at all.
I mean, I guess we're also assuming that
I mean, how many apartments? does
anyone who
that
has an
ideal hall
apartment
have?
that they're renting in downtown is guaranteeing or saying parking's available of some sort. You know, their property owners may not be providing off-street parking for their tenants, but may not be, you know, saying you're only limited to one car or you're not allowed to have cars or something if you're renting the unit.
The reason I cited the safety part of it was because that parking back there gets insane. Over the years as health officer, I was called there abandoned cars, people living in their cars. As I said, less than half of it is not regulated by the town. We don't own it. There's a dumpster back there. I get called from the restaurant because of the way they're parked in there. The garbage truck can't get in and empty the dumpster, which I was always getting them after them about because they don't close it and put the trash in it. They throw it on the ground. But anyway, if there was a fire in those apartments, which are in the back of the building, that would be the place for the fire trucks to go to fight that fire.
Big and little, Catherine.
They're not going to be able to most of the time the way that parking lot is.
I mean, is that a legitimate
No.
concern
course it
for
is.
like for now though, like regardless of
But you can,
of
well,
this,
you can
this
ignore
case,
that.
you know.
If you want to ignore that, ignore that. You're still with 3.5 adequate parking, as I said.
Mm.
Where are they going to park during the day?
I'm gonna just reread what you just said, because I have a comment. It says, prior to the approval of any new use, change of use, or expansion of use in the downtown district, the planning board or code enforcement officer may require verification that existing public parking will provide adequate parking accommodations. I haven't heard one person say it's not going to provide adequate parking accommodations. You may not be able to park right there, and you may have to walk a little bit, but that's not our responsibility. We have parking. And if you have to walk a little bit, if you have Mechanic Street or something, if that's where the only open parking is, well, it's kind of like when you go to the mall. If anyone goes to the mall anymore on Black Friday, and they go and you know, I got to walk further.
Mm.
I got to walk a little further. It's not that they don't have adequate parking. They just don't have parking where I want to park.
They don't have parking at all. They're relying on.
Nobody downtown has parking.
So
we're just gonna shut downtown and
first
say-
come, first served basis, they get a placard.
Plus, we're
But you
supposed to be on
just
this.
heard, we don't have enough spaces. Maybe at night we do, but not,
Yeah, we're
what are they going to
discussing
do
this
during the
change of use.
day?
Yeah, because I mean, I
Where are
guess
those cars going to be?
if there's
I
a
mean,
holiday or
It's
something,
being responsible.
Yeah.
The other reason I didn't want to cite this, because you just said, it says prior to approval. So we would have had to have sent them away without approving them. I just figured the other was,
A condition.
you know, better to give them a condition than say, no, we're not going to approve you until we find out you have adequate parking.
so I guess
But I guess they shouldn't have been nice.
ultimately the key part of 3.5 in that last sentence is the may. We don't we
They
do
don't
not
have to.
have to.
But
So
certainly if we're
the-
responsible, we would.
so the board may not necessarily be in agreement on, you know, whether or not that verification should be done. But I guess, you know,
How else would
going
they?
further down the road, what do we do about all of the, you know, businesses, storefronts that are currently unoccupied that may be occupied by, you know, tenants in the future? If we were to say no to this change of use, does that set a precedence that we're not allowing any change of use in downtown or any new businesses because of the current parking situation?
Businesses are different.
Well, the businesses
That's
are
daytime
different. You
on-street
have,
parking, yeah.
I
This
can
is a
tell you as
business.
health officer that 90% of the,
This is a business.
The
Well, I mean,
restaurant retail would be different than
I would argue
apartments.
that the restaurant,
Yeah.
with this building specifically, the restaurant is a bigger parking issue than the 6 housing units, because the 6 units might be 6 to 12 vehicles, whereas the restaurant, if they sit 50 people or more, you could be looking at, 20 plus vehicles
Yeah.
during, prime time, when parking is filled because Casamigos is busy, then they might be
and I
just
would,
as busy.
I
And
would
so,
agree with you with that, but I didn't feel it was the planning board's purview to say, to focus on that parking because their business is going to fail or succeed on a lot of things. One of them certainly is accessibility.
Mhm.
If I go there as a client and I have to park, down, like, half a mile on either side, and or I can't park at all, then I'm going to go someplace else.
Right.
So I never like to do that to a business.
This is a
That's why I
restaurant.
focused on the dwelling units, because I think that's more of a problem. As a restaurant, and I'm the client, I don't have to go there if I can't find parking. If I rent an apartment there, there's nothing that we can do as a planning board to say to the applicant in your lease to your tenants, you have to let them know that parking is an issue. So if I release that and I don't know that, and I'm on a night like this or a night like the other night, freezing rain, and I got to park down a Mechanic Street, and I got to take my cane and hobble down the ice to get to my apartment, I'm going to be upset. And there's no way I'm going to get out of that lease because it's not a condition of the lease, and I signed it without thinking about parking. You see what I'm
And then,
saying?
have you put
Yeah.
that restriction on every other leasee of downtown? Does Ideal Hall have that in their lease?
Ideal Hall isn't in here for a change of use.
I don't care. I'm saying you
Correct.
can't all of a sudden make this a condition on one person who's offering apartments and not on every other person in downtown Tilton who has apartments for rent. You
3.5,
can't do that.
3.5 allows us to do that because they came in for a change of
3.5 doesn't
use.
allow you to discriminate against.
We're not
You
discriminating.
are.
It's a
They
change
came
of
in
use.
for a change of use
Yeah.
to put in something in that building that's never been there before.
And your law degree is from where? I think you're incorrect on that. That's.
I
you
think I
cannot-
understand
you
I think I'm
Wow.
reading the same
You
thing.
cannot
It's like-
legally.
Of course you can. We can enforce our zoning ordinances, and that's very clear.
Only on one client downtown.
If someone else came in
Change of use.
and was going to do a change of use, somebody bought the Episcopal Church,
Yep.
and they were going to fill it full of apartments. Would we not do the same thing?
But we didn't when they filled it full of people. When they came into us, the Episcopal Church came into us and said, we're going to change this and have people residing in it. Parking wasn't even brought up.
They didn't
Parking.
turn it into apartments. They wanted accommodations for people that were homeless and needed a place to stay.
No,
for
they,
a
no,
night.
no, these were people that were
Working for the
Serve-
Episcopal Church.
serving, if you will,
Mhm.
on their mission. And they were going to go,
But we're not, I mean, then a mistake was made. We're here now. Here is the zoning ordinance. It's very clear.
Not to me.
Nate brought up the question. It says may, we can decide to do it or not. Doesn't say we will do it, but it's very clear.
So I
But
think.
how can you financially obligate
Mm.
someone into a binding obligation as a
Not to me as
condition of
planning board.
approval
Not can we as the planning board?
how can you as a planning board obligate them into a financial obligation that they must require a lease agreement from somebody?
That's not what we said.
Yes, it says a written parking agreement must be secured to provide adequate off-street parking for tenants.
I want to mention, I watched that video. I wasn't here, but the applicant is the one who brought up leasing that additional,
They volunteered it.
yeah, not the planning board.
Of course, he brought it up because the planning board was pressuring him, or certain people on the planning board were. Not because that's what.
That's their
he
job.
done.
And every time we make a condition on a site plan or anything, there is certain
And he
financial
may-
obligation involved.
And he may decide that in his business plan that to be successful, he needs to have parking agreements, for lack of a better word, with his neighbors. That's his decision. It shouldn't be our decision telling him that he needs to have those, because we haven't forced anyone else to get them.
So
I've
I
been-
think when it comes to other buildings downtown, grandfathering is, what we're dealing with. Many of the buildings that have apartments have had them for, such a long
2013.
time
I
that
know.
certain things aren't required. I know there's a lot of downtown buildings that have apartments that are mixed use that don't have sprinkler systems, which is a relatively recent requirement by the state fire
That
marshal
changed, by the
within the
way.
last couple of years.
So
They
a
don't require them anymore?
non-conforming,
Yeah.
Oh.
a non-conforming use is different than what we're talking about. That building has never had apartments, so there's no non-conforming use.
Right. It's just a
We
change.
can't make Ideal Hall look for parking because they have that use in existence. So grandfathering or non-conforming
Yeah.
doesn't come into play here.
There's a couple of, I'm just going to call them first floor building, office spots, local stores, whatever, that have come to the planning board since in my tenure, where we've allowed them to put, I'll call it mixed use, where they have a business in the front and a residence in the back. And we didn't require them to have parking agreements.
We also.
Then
had-
perhaps you weren't aware of section 3.5 that came in effect in
You were on the planning board at the
2013.
time, I believe.
If it was one
Shame on
apartment,
me.
if it was one apartment, would we be sitting here?
Probably not.
Right.
So it's the fact that it's 6.
6.
Yeah.
You're looking at the possibility of, some of them are what, 3 bedrooms? 3 bedrooms?
One's
The law only
Three.
states you require one per dwelling as of July 2025.
Correct.
So you're looking at,
6.
and probably most likely 10,
The law doesn't
Could be none.
allow that.
could be none.
Maybe we'll get lucky and all the tenants will have DUIs.
Then we have an e-bike problem.
Oh God. They just keep getting hit.
No, I'm just saying, I mean,
We have to solve problems that don't exist.
well, the problem's
know.
going to be is this may end up in court.
Well,
If we force them
I'm just
to
saying,
provide parking, I think it will end up in court.
Has
I mean,
has this portion of our zoning ever been challenged in court?
not that I know of.
And it obviously went through legal before it was, approved and voted on,
Yeah,
correct?
we went through, well, of course, it was approved by our legislative body. I don't know if
It just
an
goes-
attorney looked at that before it was written, but sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
In this particular case, I know when we left here last time, we talked about checking with legal. Did anybody check with legal, Scott?
Yes.
Mm.
And Pat asked for my permission to call because that's the selectmen's policy, and Pat spoke with our guy.
who's that?
Byron Bedard.
Oh, Byron Bernard.
He's not recommended.
I forget, Ram's my spelling.
None of those names mean anything to me. so.
Pretty reputable firm.
Also, if there's a question as to our interpretation of this zoning, then it's, from what I researched, you'd have to appeal to the zoning board, not us. Our decision was based on interpretation, and if he wants to.
That's
Yes, I
not the
did
way
look
it was, that's not the way it was done in February when the SBA properties, you changed the notice of decision, an approval, condition of approval, you just changed it at the board level. They asked it to be changed, you changed it. You made it very limiting the condition of approval to Tilton Northfield Aqueduct, and you folks changed it back at their request to make it more broad so that they could add maybe perhaps a well instead of Tilton Northfield Aqueduct. That was in February of 2025. The planning board that set that precedent.
But if we
I
don't
think
vote
so-
for
I think there's
it,
people in this room that want housing no matter what.
yeah.
Whether it
It's not a
creates
question of
whether-
wanting
You're not
housing
on
or
the
not.
zoning board. You have to.
I
ask
am
to
an
speak.
advisor to the,
No, you're not.
I am, that's my job
Hey,
description.
hey,
Read
hey,
it,
hey, let's, guys,
read it.
If
point
you
of
wanna
order.
speak, you need to ask to speak.
Point of order, please. We don't need to be raising our voices at each other. Please
Thank
be
you.
civil. Others will- Where are we?
Would you ask,
I'm trying to find the
find out
bits.
if anybody checked with legal? You said that we did check with legal. What did legal say?
What was the question asked to legal and what was the response?
And do we have it in writing?
I asked that earlier and there was no response. If we have a written appeal to the planning board.
The owners left very, very angry after the planning board. They were hoping that you would just take a second look at it. They didn't want it in public. They didn't want to come back. And they, above all, do not want to go to legal counsel if they don't have to.
Black
But
and
they
white.
will if they have to. And that was the gist of the conversation with me.
So we don't have a formal appeal request
For our decision.
for our decision. Yes.
Is there a documented process or procedure for the board itself reviewing or reopening past cases? If
Yeah,
there's
it's
not
in,
any type of
You'll
petition?
find it in your red book.
The
I
state
don't
one.
think Amazon requested anything and they just said that they were gonna furnish their own water and we then removed that condition and said we didn't have to if they did that. And they didn't make a formal request.
Well, they were just going from one type of water supply to another. It's a little different.
Fine.
Yeah, I can't. Trying to find it too.
There's a whole section on
Did you,
appeals.
what did the attorney say?
Basically said, the
Said what?
planning board was wrong. Basically, that you couldn't mandate some pay for parking because our ordinance says downtown is exempt. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm just trying to.
I don't know
find
that
it.
it's exempt, but I think this whole point is about the financial burden of having to pay for parking. Is that what this is really about? And not that we're requiring parking, it's about having to have a lease to pay for parking?
They don't want to have to provide parking.
If I,
Period?
if I might, I,
That's
No, I
not
don't-
what they said.
I don't,
Well, we asked them to provide parking for their tenants.
no, we provided them to ask to obtain a written parking agreement.
Okay. So we asked them to provide parking, whether it's in writing or not, but to provide parking.
It's not necessarily for tenants, it's for their building.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I think if you read the minutes and listen to the tape, it was pretty much tenants in the dwelling units that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Because I think I said a couple of times that I wasn't so concerned about the restaurant tenants because they could fight for spaces
yeah,
on
I
Main
mean,
Street.
anyone can fight for space.
But
Tenants
all
can
that.
also
Looking
do
at-
that.
I'm just repeating myself.
Tenants do that all the
Miss-
time.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, my interpretation of the discussion back with, email discussion back with the land use coordinator and our attorney is that we could not impose on this person the fact that they would have to provide a lease agreement because we don't do it with other businesses or other apartments downtown. Number one, and number two is that the biggest hangup was that our ordinance says except downtown. And I did not read it tonight or whatever, but Pat, did I surmise that correctly? Okay.
That's not
I just
And
wanted to make
also the
sure.
change of use versus site plan.
Correct,
Then
yes.
he didn't read all of 3.5 because
Yeah.
the last part definitely says prior to approval of any new use, change of use
Right.
or expansion of use in the downtown district, the planning board and or the code enforcement officer may require verification that existing public parking will provide adequate parking accommodations. Now, maybe the mistake was made when we said you have to enter into a
That's kind
legal
of,
agreement,
that's kind of,
but
the-
we can
But it
go
doesn't-
back to this
Yeah.
and take out legal and say, show us you have parking.
It doesn't say a legal agreement. It just says a written parking agreement. If you write a written parking agreement for whatever number of tenants that they're going to park at blah, 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 blah on this sheet we got, that's a written agreement.
Hmm.
It doesn't say you have to go get a lease.
I don't,
So we can, like
No,
I said, we
I
can
can-
change our thing to say, to take out legal since
It doesn't say legal.
it doesn't say legal?
No,
there's a written
it
parking
just says
agreement.
written parking agreement must be secured to provide an adequate off-street parking for tenants.
But you're saying he has to prove that all of his people will have a parking space.
In the we emphasize the dwelling units.
Yeah.
But
Because
they-
if,
You did.
if this gets
but
taken
that's
away
what you're
from the
saying.
selectmen, then you have to
Do you
choose different
require
that?
spots
Chair?
for your tenants.
I mean, what we've discussed here tonight, there obviously isn't adequate parking,
Right.
but
They're what?
isn't enough parking for them.
I
Mr.
don't
Chair.
think that's been discussed at all. There is adequate
It says in
parking.
Oh my God.
3.5, and/or the code enforcement officer may require verification. The code enforcement officer already gave you verification tonight that there's adequate parking.
Why are you yelling at us?
Just trying to go over what you're talking over. I already asked
And-
the chair for questioning, and you're talking over me, and I
I
had to
wasn't.
get that voice over you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
That's a good excuse for yelling at us. As I said before.
I wasn't finished. So excuse me. 3.5 says the code enforcement officer or the code enforcement officer may tell you that there's parking accommodations. I'm telling you tonight that there's parking accommodations. I just gave you an adequate of just the overnight parking.
What about daytime? We've already discussed daytime. We've pretty much determined that they would
What-
be fighting for parking spaces in the daytime.
Well, I think in the daytime, that's where your Mechanic Street is going to come into play. I mean,
If we make it parking. We didn't make it parking.
Well,
We discussed it, and we discussed that it would have to be asphalt.
I believe at the last meeting, someone told me that there were 30 parking spaces there. So to me, that comes across as there's adequate parking.
We haven't made it a parking space. We're still clearing it out.
I was told it was gravelled.
We were still removing a camper, abandoned
I was told all
vehicles.
that at that last meeting. I was told all that because I brought
I
that up.
don't know who told you that.
You guys did.
Who's that?
You heard it, you were listening to the selectmen discuss possible
I
uses.
was listening to the selectman's representative to this board tell me that.
Ex officio is not a representative from the Board of Selectmen. You do know this, don't you?
Well, I took
But
you,
nevertheless, we have not made that a parking space yet. We talked about possibilities, and parking definitely is one of
so
them.
is the town actively towing people that are parking there now if there's cars there?
We have not enforced anything
No.
there, no. We talked about.
So
what
it's a
we
parking
ha-
lot
It's a piece of town property.
that people park on.
And as what I said at that meeting, you're not going to prevent people from parking out in that
That's correct.
until we start enforcing it.
Is that property listed as one of the lots on the parking map?
No,
I
go to the Tilton website and you'll see those lots. That isn't one of them. Back up. If you go down Mechanic Street on the very back on the
Correct.
left is a small
There's like six.
Tilton parking lot. But where we tore the house down has not.
Okay, so that is
Not yet.
potential parking, future parking,
Could
but
be.
People are
It-
parking there.
But people that live in those
Mr.
apartments on
Chairman.
Mechanic
Yep.
Street park there.
Mr. Damon.
What would stop us from, let's go to this piece of paper that I have here. In section 2. And just eliminate a written parking agreement must be secured. 2. Just eliminate that part of it and retain, provide adequate off-street parking for tenants.
It would work.
And we
Because then it's enforceable. If it doesn't provide if there's not enough spot and the tenants are going to complain to code enforcement or whatnot.
well, I mean, I guess
but that's on the landlord if that's not on the town.
Nope.
But what's going to stop
Oh.
them from using?
Code enforcement. will.
Well, we can't be enforcing here every single thing here. Just because somebody parks illegally, we can't stop them from that.
Oh, yeah.
mean,
Of course
is
That's
it?
not our job.
is the street with the hill that the old church is on. People are parking on the sidewalk, facing the wrong direction, blocking the traffic
That's an
lane, making-
enforcement issue by the
making-
That's
police
an
making it a
enforcement
one-way
issue.
road.
That's not anything to do with the town.
That's-
right, but
Now, I need a
the fact that we
clarification,
Can't even enforce that.
Mr. Chairman. I need clarification from the chair. Does the town have to provide off-street parking for all apartments in the village?
To the best of my, I don't believe we do.
No.
I don't believe, we don't have to provide parking for anyone.
That's correct. That's correct.
Which is why this should never have been done.
But
So-
it's up to the landlord, not the town. He's asking if the town has to provide it.
I'm
We
asking
don't.
if the town has to
The
provide.
landlord's,
It's
are
up to the
responsible.
landlord.
yes.
So condition number 2, if you eliminate the words that I've just annotated and provide adequate off-street parking for the tenants, I think that's adequate.
And even if we don't take those 3 words out, he just writes something up that he has these available spots for his tenants.
So
That's it.
Use the language in 3.5. and
Can I-
think
can
we'll
I-
be
That's it.
safe.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question.
That way we did our due diligence.
So I live at, I don't know the address, 274 Main Street, apartment 1. Okay. I go down to the police department and I get myself an overnight parking permit.
Yeah.
And is there a fee associated with it? Okay. So I pay my $20. Okay. I don't know what it is. I go pay my fee and they give me a little sticker that I put on my windshield. That allows me to park there overnight.
Allows you to park in any of the parking
Well,
plots
it
don't
allows me to-
allow overnight
Right.
parking.
Okay,
Town,
right,
yeah.
but I can park for,
On a first come, first
I can
served
park
basis.
on, I'll find a parking spot. It's 8 o'clock at night. I'm gonna find, oh, this is an overnight parking lot. I can park here,
Right.
no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
I got a brief thought that based on how we're doing this, based on our earlier conversation, we were talking about number of spaces available, that it almost sounds like anyone that lives at 274 Main Street is not going to be able to go and get a permit. So either way, we've talked about, how many spaces did you say? There were 6 spaces?
6 units.
6 units.
No, but there were,
only have to
There's
have one
80
space per
spaces, they
person.
gave out 74.
So the 6,
No,
well,
we only
80
have to
plus, you
provide
said,
so
right?
there's
80
74
plus.
permits issued right now
74.
and 80 available spaces. So I'm lucky, but overnight parking, we were just
We're
told
just
there was,
overnight parking.
Not daytime.
okay. So what would stop any person living at 274 from getting an overnight parking permit?
Nothing.
Nothing.
They
Nothing.
ran out.
Okay,
When they run out, there's no more parking.
right, but how many do we know? Do we know how many spaces there are total?
I think
I
Pat,
mean,
When was the last time they were counted?
well, I don't know. That's-
the chief did it for Pat.
100, I think it's 100.
Think it's 100. Okay.
Right.
So
A little while ago, it was 80 plus.
The number is 80
Available,
plus,
right.
but he buys, I believe, 100. When that's gone, there's no more overnight parking
So-
We only
stickers.
have 80 plus parking spaces and he gives out 100 placards?
No, he hasn't given out 100 placards yet.
Oh,
Gave
thank-
out 74.
but wait, so hold on, wait a minute, wait a minute.
2025,
Isn't that overbooking?
he's issued 74.
So there's 100 seats on the plane. Okay, we're all flying to Florida to get out of this cold. There's 100 seats on the plane. Okay, and we're gonna hand out the tickets. Oh, 101 people showed up. We handed out 102 tickets, but there's only 100. There's only 100
Exactly.
tickets.
Yeah.
So you tell me that's what the town of Tilton does?
I hope not.
So if I'm
That's
Well-
kind of
If
a
I'm-
bad analogy because they always overbook.
right.
Wait, so
Couldn't be booked more than, yeah, but
Oh,
that's,
yeah,
yeah,
so,
that's
so
besides.
I guess the
Send you
question,
an
the
email asking you to
question,
get
He
some
probably
information.
gets 100 tickets because they come in,
I would
Right.
Set
I'm
number.
sure that's why he buys
you can
100.
get 100. or
He's
200.
issued 74. He has available 80. I thought it was
and I
80.
understand that people move out and get new cars and things like that. I understand that happens.
Yeah.
But we don't know, so we really don't know how many permits we have for,
We also have landlords that buy them for their tenants and buy
Correct.
them and they don't use them.
Right.
So
And
Well, that's
we
an
have-
option.
after 5
No, it's
p.m., after 5 p.m., there's 12 town employee spots that after 5 p.m., you can park there as long as you're gone by 7 o'clock the next morning.
Right.
So that is overnight parking
because I know
availability.
you guys all show
So I
up at
think
7,
that
so-
number included those. So if you add 84 and 12, that's 96. So he bought 100. So I'm
Are
sure-
all the overnights have to leave at 7? All these?
no,
Okay,
no, just
just
the
curious.
town employees. Yeah.
okay.
There's 12 spots in that back row that probably you're parked in. Some of you folks are probably parked
I'm
there.
parked there.
I'm there,
Yeah,
so.
too.
I'm not.
so I mean,
We take you the front row.
maybe tonight is not the occasion to discuss the town's policy as to issuing permits, although I agree with
Yeah.
other people here that we probably shouldn't issue more permits than spaces, especially if we're guaranteeing parking
Right.
versus giving them the, potential to have access to parking.
Making them pay for the placards?
Right. Right.
I mean, I lived in
Yeah.
Boston and you had the
This-
parking
this
passes
person-
and it doesn't mean
th-
you're gonna
This
get a
pro-
spot in your neighborhood, but
this property owner could go, and I'm just gonna use number 6 because we said there's 6 apartments. He could go buy six placards
Yeah.
from the police station.
Can be
and
done.
He's met, well, no, he hasn't met obligation number 2 because it says a written parking agreement. So it's not a written parking agreement unless
But
you're
he can
gonna,
write something saying, I've got 6 available overnight stuff. It's written.
Yeah.
He
It's
could go
done.
to-
There's no legal word here.
He could go to the Church of the Assumption.
Yeah.
And say, excuse me, could we make some kind of arrangement here so
Right.
that my tenants could use your parking?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't restrict them to distance.
No,
We
No.
just said
right,
parking.
right.
And it doesn't say lease. It doesn't
Mm.
say anything legal here. It just says a written agreement. So there's
Mr.
not really a problem here.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yep.
think Mr. Damon's comments are striking in my head that, as I recall, legal counsel had a bigger problem with that. So if you took that wording away, if you're looking for a way to solve this, I think that is the best idea. But that's my opinion. I don't serve on your board. I work for you guys. So
so if we took, let's focus on editing this. So if we took out the word a written parking agreement, keep the word must, and then take out be secured to and say must provide adequate off-street parking for tenants.
I think you've covered yourself.
Yeah.
So I have a
You could
question.
even quote the as per 3.5 in the zoning ordinance
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
Yeah. I never got anything
Wait,
that
Nate-
said the
Nate had
attorney
a
made a
question.
thing.
Nate had a comment, question. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, so is the crux of the issue that 3.5 gives us the ability to evaluate parking accommodations
Mm-hmm.
and then deny a change of use due to parking, but it doesn't allow us to require that a property or a property owner obtain parking?
That's a good comment.
Well, I think by saying that they must have verify that existing public parking will provide adequate parking accommodations is saying,
Well, but
Right, so we
Yeah.
could,
So-
we could deny
They
based on,
require-
you have a very good point. We could deny based on parking. But then this situation has kind of been blown up where we can't say, okay, just make sure we're gonna give you approval, just make sure you have parking. So,
Yeah,
You do have a
yeah,
good
to me,
point.
it seems like we can
said
say,
we should've
no,
just
you
denied it.
can't do something because the parking doesn't exist.
mhm.
But this doesn't give us the ability to say, you must provide X amount of, off-street private parking, whether it's a restaurant or housing or, a music teacher, like,
Yeah.
we can't say, oh, you're going to have, a 20-person course there 7 days a week. You need to have 20 off-street parking spaces.
Well,
It's
no,
a-
you could have 20 because they're not staying overnight.
Right, but the issue is 3.5 doesn't give us the ability to say you need to provide additional parking or, private
No, it
parking.
gives us that.
it does.
It
give
does
you
give
that.
us that. It
I'll
says
use an
may.
extreme. If he came
I-
to us and said, I'm putting 50 apartments in here,
Hmm.
and that's going to be 50 cars, then we can say, well, wait a minute, time out. We're not going to have parking for 50 additional cars in the downtown district.
Well,
Wait,
back up.
So that's, it
He-
says
the-
we
uh,
may require verification that
Yeah.
existing public parking will provide adequate parking accommodations. We don't say if there is not adequate public parking accommodations, you have to do X, Y, Z.
And you've done that by
Yeah.
by
and
counting the
that's-
spaces.
That's what we've done. So, but again, Eric, to answer your question, back to the Church of the Assumption, there's more than 50 spaces up there that they don't use.
But that's not town property, so we
No.
can't dictate that they
No,
can use
no,
that.
but he
They
can
don't
have
But we're
let
not
people use it.
saying that. It says, it doesn't
Provided, yeah.
limit them to private or town. It says,
Yeah.
we'll provide adequate parking accommodations. It doesn't limit them
It
to
says
where.
existing public parking. Public. That's not public parking up there.
Right.
So
So, okay,
they could
Okay.
come to us and say, hey, I reached an agreement with
Right.
Church of the Assumption, and they're
Yeah.
going to let me park there. We're going to,
right.
Yeah.
And would you say, no, I'm sorry, it's not public parking?
no, but but they're showing, but at the meeting, if they didn't say that, we're going to be like, Oh, then he'd go, oh, wait a minute, I have this, I forgot.
That's why I use the safety issue.
Well,
Because I do believe it's a safety issue.
I get an issue there is if this was just a restaurant and there wasn't
Right.
adequate public parking available, and someone said, "Oh, we're renting 50 spaces, 15-minute walk away." That doesn't mean that their patrons are going to go park there
Right.
instead of parking downtown. Like, sure, they may be, providing parking, but it doesn't necessitate that parking will actually be used, which goes back to my point that 3.5 seems to only give us the ability to say, is there enough public parking to support this use? If not, we can use that public lack of parking as a reason to deny the use. But it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look like it says we can require that they do something because there isn't adequate parking.
Of course
Like,
it does.
Maybe if the property, say we're talking about a different property, maybe there isn't adequate public parking for the restaurant, but they go, okay, we're gonna, take this grassy area and, pave it and turn it into 20 spots. That is something that a property owner could do to get around the issue of the lack of public parking. But I don't think so that we wouldn't shoot them down for section 3.5, but I don't think we could say, hey, you have to turn that grassy area into parking.
No, you
Just
can't.
provide adequate
Mr.
parking.
Chair,
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
provide adequate public parking.
Yeah.
But
Does
again,
Tilton Inn have to
would you-
provide a parking place for every room they have?
no, we gave them parking. Mr. Chair,
Pat?
don't forget that they have 8 to 12 shared parking in the back there, depending on the size of the vehicle. They've stated that at their presentation.
no, they don't. They don't own that parking lot.
Shared
When we
parking.
had a conversation, they don't have no agreement with the owner of that parking lot.
Or they didn't show.
They
it
had
here.
no idea that the town of Tilton owned half that parking lot. They had no idea. They don't have any agreement with the property owner of that parking lot. None.
Do you know that
So
for
they
sure?
don't.
I
That's-
thought
that's
he
what he
said, he had,
said.
I thought he had agreement with,
Mhm.
because I think it's the Mexican restaurant that owns that.
The restaurant owns that and there's an apartment in the restaurant building. So,
One.
So,
but anyway,
They have 5 cars.
we're,
I'm being too much.
so
go with Tom's suggestion. We're just saying, show you have adequate parking. I, for one, wouldn't want to limit him to show us you have adequate public parking, even though that's what it says. But if they came back and said, we have parking here and we have parking here, great.
That's what he said, though, I thought.
He said they were going to, they were working on it.
he, our
Not that they
Our
have.
special condition says he has to have a written parking agreement. Mr. Damon's suggestion is that we remove that and we just put must provide adequate off-street parking for tenants. It's plain and simple. It's still a condition.
Go to buy 6 parking spots from the PD.
So
I don't think I'd add off-street. I'd use the language. I'd just say adequate parking accommodations.
That doesn't limit them.
We'll
yeah,
provide adequate parking accommodations,
for tenants,
for tenants, yeah.
because that's what it says.
hold on.
So,
The town.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Mr. Damon.
you're suggesting that we remove the word adequate.
No,
No.
Off-street.
Thank
the
you.
word off street.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
now, based on revision number 4, it would say must provide adequate parking for tenants.
Parking accommodations for tenants.
Must provide adequate
Parking
parking accommodations
Accommodations
for
for
tenants.
tenants.
That's the language of your
in the zoning.
zoning.
What if they have 10 tenants and the state law only requires them to provide 1 parking
Per unit.
unit?
Okay, so 6.
That's why it's adequate accommodations.
That's way adequate.
I don't,
That's more than 6, that's what I'm saying.
should you just say for residential tenants? So it's not,
Oh,
because technically the
the
restaurant would be a tenant. Whatever is going to go upstairs should be
Sure.
a tenant. It should be for residential tenants.
That means they only have to find, if the law says 6, then they have to find 6. If we don't say residential, it means
I'll
basically
throw another
they
one
gotta
out there.
pay parking for their restaurant capacity plus their
So
dwelling. I'd
would
be
it
more
be,
concerned about their
do
residents.
you change it and say must provide adequate overnight parking accommodations for tenants?
I'd say parking accommodations for
Yeah.
tenants.
Okay,
just leave
I'll
it.
just-
Yeah.
All right. All right, so I'll make a motion on planning board case 2517 that we amend
Condition number 2.
condition number 2 to read as follows. Must provide adequate parking accommodation for tenants.
Did you want
Second.
residential tenants though? Or do you care?
No, you guys just said no, so I,
Okay.
I just didn't
fine
write it
with that.
down. So
I seconded.
there was a
Yes.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Oh, abstentions.
Aye, or abstain.
Abstain. One abstention. So
4 ayes.
4 ayes,
1 no, 1 abstention.
1 nay, 1 abstention. Motion passes. Let the record reflect.
Let me read it back to you.
Yes, ma'am. You want me to read it
Number
back to you?
2, must provide adequate parking accommodations for tenants.
Yes.
Okay.
And motion passed. Is there anything else that needs to come before this board?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:03 PM. You have mine? Is that mine?
Yes.
Thank you for
letting me borrow it.
No problem. Up to you.
Well, you should have still
This
got
one's
the legal
23, this one's
comments.
25.
Well, that's why you have 2
Oh,
copies.
no.
Yeah, but why do I